Manufactured hunger, the truth behind industrial farming.
Very smart in understanding that if you can control public perception, you can control the narrative. So he famously, later in 1914, hired a man by the name of Ivy Lee, who is considered today to be the modern founder of public relations. So Lee crafted a more favorable public perception of Rockefeller, portraying him as a philanthropist and benevolent businessman. Lee was an early influence on a man by the name of Edward Bernays, who famously wrote a book called Propaganda, later to be recognized as the founder of public perception and the propaganda machine. Now, if this sounds familiar, we had a similar situation not so long ago, where the founder of Microsoft, Bill Gates, was found in violation of the antitrust laws by the US Department of Justice.
The Justice Department has charged Microsoft with engaging in anti-competitive and exclusionary practices designed to maintain its monopoly in personal computer operating systems.
In a move to overshadow the negative press, Bill Gates put $100 million to create the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, pretty much a leaf out of Rockefeller's playbook. Now, as Rockefeller started switching over towards the pharmaceutical industry, he had one major challenge at the time, and that was natural health. And as a shrewd businessman, he knew exactly how to control the situation through money and influence. Earlier in 1909, Rockefeller had employed a man by the name of Abraham Flexner. And Abraham's job was to go through and analyze all of the medical training institutes at the time. And in 1910, the very infamous Flexner Report was released. This led to the closure of multiple medical schools, mainly the ones that were still teaching the curriculum of natural medicines. Rockefeller then leveraged his political influence in Congress that passed bills stating that natural medicines and healing modalities were unscientific quackery. Rockefeller organized propagandists to invert reality, to sway people away from the use of natural medicines towards allopathic medicines. It was established that allopathic medicine would focus solely on the use of synthetic substances, vaccines, and surgeries, and this was the foundation of Western medicine today. Medicines that had been used for thousands of years were all of a sudden seen as alternative, while the use of petroleum-based, highly addictive and patentable drugs were declared the gold standard. By directing large sums of money towards the institutions that were supporting the new allopathic medicine, Rockefeller inadvertently took over the control of the American Medical Association and began offering massive grants to medical schools, but only if they agreed to teach his approved curriculum. As a result, any mention of plants or herbs or diet was quickly stripped from all the medical textbooks, and any doctor or professor that opposed these changes was quickly stripped of their medical license and ridiculed by the media, of which Rockefeller also controlled at the time. Those who dared to speak out were arrested and jailed. But it gets worse. When evidence that these synthetic petroleum-based drugs were starting to cause cancer, Rockefeller founded the American Cancer Association to suppress and bury this information, and again, to create a public perception that he was indeed a well-meaning philanthropist. J.D. Rockefeller is duly accredited to be the founder or the forefather of the pharmaceutical industrial complex. To be clear why natural medicines were turned away against is that you cannot patent anything in nature. What pharmaceutical companies are able to do is find the active component, or what is believed to be the singular active ingredient of a natural substance, and create a synthetic version of that and patent that. Any kind of patent in the drug world gives a drug company a 10-year lead before any other companies can create a generic version of those drugs. In other words, there's no way of making huge sums of money or billions of dollars out of anything in nature. This is why medical doctors today really still believe that alternative medicine or diets are seen as quackery. Now, this narrative is not indicative of all medical doctors. I really believe that a lot of doctors go in because they want to genuinely help. However, they know all too well the silencing and the control that they have within this whole medical system, which has never changed. They're under the stranglehold of the single biggest, most powerful lobbying group in Washington today. Every year, Big Pharma spends significant sums of money in lobbying to have laws passed and policies changed, and also advertising public perception campaigns that support their agendas, all thanks to the architect of monopolies, J.D. Rockefeller. Today, no industry has more power than Big Pharma.
Big Pharma, in collusion with other powerful interests, fostered the rise of industrial agriculture. This system was designed not primarily to feed the world nutritiously, but to maximize profits from the sale of farm machinery, genetically modified seeds, and agrochemicals like fertilizers and pesticides. The result is a food production model that prioritizes volume and looks over nutritional value. This has created a system where food is often less nutrient-dense and diverse, yet paradoxically, more expensive for consumers. This system harms both consumers and farmers. Consumers face a growing crisis of diet-related diseases due to the consumption of processed and nutrient-poor foods. These diseases, such as obesity, diabetes, and heart disease, place a massive burden on healthcare systems and diminish quality of life. Furthermore, the higher cost of food disproportionately affects low-income communities, exacerbating food insecurity and health disparities. Farmers, particularly small and medium-sized farms, are also negatively impacted. They are often pressured to adopt industrial farming practices, becoming dependent on expensive inputs like patented seeds and synthetic fertilizers. This creates a cycle of debt and makes it difficult for them to compete with large agribusinesses. Moreover, exposure to pesticides and other chemicals poses significant health risks to farmers and their families. The consolidation of farmland into the hands of a few large corporations also displaces rural communities and contributes to the decline of rural economies. Finally, the heavy reliance on monoculture farming on tilled soil and industrial agriculture depletes soil health, reduces biodiversity, wastes water, and makes the food system more vulnerable to pests, diseases, and causes climate change.